record. Okay, we are recording. Let me make sure. All right, we're recording. I am going to go back to the meeting. Manage participants. I'm going to mute everybody. And, okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone. Inna alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lah wa man yudlil fala hadiya lah wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu amma ba'd. Last week's lecture I spoke about pondering the meaning of the Quran. And in that lecture, what I talked about was how to read the Quran as if the Quran is addressing you directly and personally. Meaning that when we read the Quran, we shouldn't read it as if it is addressed or meant for someone else. The reason we should read it as if it is addressed and meant for us for us personally is for the reason that it is meant to address us and it is meant to be for us personally. So that was what I talked about last week, how we should be reading the Quran. And whenever we are reading the Quran, how we should be pondering the meaning of the Quran and how we should be addressing the questions and the challenges the Quran presents to us. So among the questions and the challenges that the Quran presents that we talked about last time was, number one, that Allah, or when you start the Quran, when you open the Quran, we say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, which is the first verse of Surah Al-Fatiha, in which the Quran is presenting, is saying, and is asserting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that God is the Lord of two worlds or both worlds. Meaning for most of us, or at least in our experience, we only know the world we live in right now. This is the only world. We don't know of any different world. But what does the Quran mean when the Quran says that Allah, or God, is the Lord of both worlds or two worlds? What is meant by that? And these questions, as you read the Quran, these questions will pop up over and over again. The Quran will present an assertion, will say something, will make a claim, and it will ask you to think about it. It'll ask you to ponder it. It'll ask you to think deeply about it and basically come to your own conclusions. The Quran, as you turn the pages, as you read its translation, will make you engage with itself. It'll ask you questions. So today, that's the purpose of my lecture today. My PowerPoint. Nope, I'm good. My PowerPoint seemed to had got stuck. So last week we talked about pondering the meaning of the Quran. That was last week's topic. But on today's agenda, inshallah, we're going to talk about pondering the Quran by doing what the Quran asks us to do, or engaging in that which the Quran asks us to engage in, or by actively engaging with the world around us as the Quran wants us to do. And what I mean by that, we will go over in today's agenda. So among the methods of the reading of the Quran, what the different ways that we can read the Quran? We can read the Quran word for word, letter for letter, just like for most listeners to my video or audio, you don't know what it means to read the Quran with meaning. That unless somebody provides you a translation, you're not going to open this is true for me as well. I do understand a little bit of the Quran, but not most of it. Is that when you read the Quran, you're not going to understand the meaning of the Quran. You're just reciting the words. This is one method of reading the Quran. And inshallah, next week, that's going to be my next week's topic. How to read the Quran word for word. Even though there is no understanding of meaning, there's definite benefit to reading of the Quran just word for word. But the second method, or the second way of reading the Quran, which is more important and which is of a higher level, is not only reading it word for word, but reading the meaning and pondering and attempting to understand the meaning. And this is what we spoke about in last week's lecture. We spoke about how to read the Quran and how to understand the Quran and how to engage with the Quran. But today, I'm going to talk about the third method or the third way with which you can engage in the Quran, which is not only reading the Quran word for word, but then pondering its meaning and finally acting upon what the Quran wants you to act upon and acting in a way with which you will be able to engage with the Quran. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's lecture, inshallah. So let's get started. Among the way that you can ponder the meaning of the verses of the Quran. Number one, obviously, what we talked about last time. What does this verse mean? And how does the verse apply to me specifically? Meaning, how is the verse applicable to me? How can I implement what the verse wants me to implement in our life? And also, not just that, but also, what can I learn about the topic of the verse that will make me understand the verse even more? Now, what do I mean by that? The Quran addresses many topics throughout, which include topics like history. Sometimes the Quran talks about geology. Sometimes the Quran talks about embryology. Sometimes the Quran talks about the changing of the seasons, about how rain comes down and how vegetation comes up, right? What can I, not only should you be attempting to understand the meanings of these verses and how to apply them in your life, but also, what can I learn about the topic of the verse at hand? So most of the verses, or practically all of the verses in the Quran, are about you, are for your guidance. But the Quran also goes into different topical areas, which include, for example, history. It includes astronomy. It includes geology. It includes even physics at times. What can I learn, or what can you learn about the topic of the verse in hand? And also, what can I do that will help me? And I've put this under quotes. What can I do that will help me experience this verse? And what do I mean by experience this verse? I'll give you some examples in just a second. What do I mean by experience? Is that if the verse is talking about astronomy, and I have never even gotten a telescope and looked up at the sky and see what the heavens are like. Should I be doing that? How can I engage with the Quran? If the Quran is talking about how the mountains, and the mountains are pegs in the world, and how they prevent the land from going asunder, can I go visit a mountain? Should I go visit a mountain? This is what I mean by experience of the verse. And I'll give you some examples of how you can ponder, how you can think, how you can apply the meaning of the verse in your life, and not only that, experience these verses for yourselves. So let's get started with some examples, inshallah. This is in Surah An-Namal. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أَمَّنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَأَنزَلَ لَكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَأَنبَتْنَا بِهِ حَدَائِقَ ذات بهجة ما كان لكم أن تنبتوا شجرها أإله مع الله بل هم قوم يعدلون. Translation: It is He. Is He not the best, who created the heavens and the earth, and sent down for you the rain from the sky, causing to grow thereby gardens of joyful beauty, which you could not have otherwise have grown, the trees thereof. Is there any deity except Allah who does this? But indeed, people who are, but they are a people who ascribe equals to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in this verse, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pointing, and what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pointing out, and what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want us to ponder? And you will find this pointing to the signs of Allah, the coming down of rain, the raising of vegetation from the earth, how we eat that vegetation, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points us to this phenomenon multiple times in the Quran, in many places in the Quran. For most of us, this sounds like an everyday, almost inconsequential. Okay, so the rain comes down and the vegetation comes up and we eat it, etc., etc. But have you ever considered, or have you ever thought about what it actually takes to actually plant a vegetable in your garden, watch it grow, and eat it? Now, what do I mean by that? In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us, or is asserting, that it is He who sent down the rain from the heavens. It is He who caused the vegetation to come up from the earth. And without His bounty, without His mercy, you wouldn't have been able to do this. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us, is forcing us to think, look, if it had not been for the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would not have the food that you have. Now, for most of us, especially if my listeners are not farmers, we've never actually experienced this verse. What do I mean by that? We've never actually gone out or farmed, and I'm not asking you to go become farmers yourself, but we've actually never really farmed for our food. We've never really grown our food. We don't know what it takes to actually plant something in the ground, plant a seed in the ground, watch it grow, and actually eat it. It takes a lot of effort. So in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing us, look, think, who is it? Who is it that sent down the rain from the heavens? And who is it that caused the vegetation to come up so that you would be able to eat it? Is it anyone other than Allah who does this? But honestly, think about it for a second. If you or your children actually have never done any gardening, you don't know what it's like to raise or to plant a seed in the ground, to watch the rain come down upon it, to have it come up from the ground and to actually eat it. For most of us, and I'm not saying this is a terrific benefit from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, living in a society, in modern society, food comes to us very easy. And this is a tremendous bounty and tremendous benefit from Allah. This, we should not deny it. This is a wonderful thing. All we have to do, we go to the grocery store, we buy the food, we come home, we cook it. And many times, most times even, we don't even have to do that. We just go to the restaurant, we order the food, we come, we eat it. Very simple. But what it does, and what our modern lifetime, or what our modern lives has done, is almost created this barrier between us and the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this verse, one of the signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing us to, and you will see this in the Quran over and over and over and over again as you read its translation and as you ponder its meaning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will point you towards something, whether it be the rain coming down from heaven, whether it be vegetation, whether it be yourselves, whether it be geology, whether it be the heavens and astronomy, etc. And I'll give you examples of that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will point you to these verses or these proofs of Allah and will ask you to think about them. But what you can derive and the way you can try to experience. One of the ways that you, for yourself and for your children, try to experience is go ahead. Try to take up gardening. See what it's like to actually plant a seed in the ground. I'm not asking you to become farmers. No. But see what it's like to grow a cucumber in the ground. Is it easy or is it hard? Do you have to water it? Do you have to look after it? You will learn how easy or difficult it is to grow a cucumber or a tomato or a potato in your yard. And when you do, you will realize that, hey, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down rain, you will experience this sign of Allah for yourself. You will not be, quote unquote, at an arm's length away from the signs of Allah. You will start to experience this yourself. And you will know how from a tiny little seed, a tree comes about. Or from a tiny little seed, a bale or a vegetable comes about. How a root comes about and how we use it for our food. And when you experience that yourself, this verse will hold a lot more meaning to you. You will know what a bounty it is from Allah, that if it had not been for the vegetation coming in from the earth, and if it had not been for the water coming down from the heavens, we would starve. And what it takes to raise the food from the ground. And once you experience that, not only will you yourself know what food is, you will understand a true and much greater appreciation of the bounty that Allah has given you. You will learn that, you know what, growing food isn't all that easy. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you plenty of it. All you really have to do is go to the store, buy the food, and it's yours. And also you will experience, you will know what a benefit, what a bounty it is, and you will never be wasteful of food ever again. Why? Because you chose to engage with a verse of the Quran. You chose to not just read and ponder the meaning, but to experience the verse for yourself. And that is what I am inviting you to do today. When there are plenty of other verses in the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will point us to specific evidences, to specific signs of Him, such as the sun, such as the moon, such as the rain. But if we are at an arm's length from these signs of Allah, we've never even looked at the moon through a telescope. We don't know what it's like. If we've never done that, and this is not just for the children, by the way. This is also for the adults. You are never too old to ponder the creation of Allah. What Allah has created for you, and once you start to experience it, you will know what a merciful deity Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Another example, this is from Surah An-Namal. And by the way, seldom a page will go by that you will not find these examples. I have picked out some random examples from the Quran about the topics that I wanted to talk about today. But there isn't going to be almost no page in the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not point you to a specific sign from Him. And in Surah An-Rum, in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَهُ مَن فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كُلٌّ لَهُ قَانِتُونَ. And to Him, or to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth, and all are to Him devoutly obedient. Now, what does that mean? In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing us to think about two things. Number one, the samawat, or the heavens. What do we mean by the heavens? what is above us, the stars, the galaxies, and the universe around us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying the heavens and the earth, whatever is in the sky and whatever is in the earth, it belongs to Allah, and everything is devoutly obedient to Him. What do we mean by that? Now, this is another way with which you can experience the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have you ever, in a dark, cloudless night where there isn't much light, have you ever gone out and perhaps using a telescope, looked at what it is the heavens are, and thought about how big the heavens are, and thought about how insignificant we truly are compared to this wonderful creation, this enormous creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have we ever done it? Have we ever experienced, or have we ever looked at the heavens for ourselves? When you take a binocular or when you take a telescope, and I invite my listeners to do this. Go ahead, go to Walmart, go to a local store, and go buy a telescope. And go ahead, put it in your backyard, and take a look at the sky, take a look at the moon, take a look at the heavens, and see what they're like. And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse? That the heavens, whatever is in the heavens and the earth, are obedient to Him, meaning they're obeying His command. The heavens act according to the command of Allah. The heavens are in harmony. But if you've never seen how big this universe is, how wonderful, how magnificent this universe is, you will not truly know what this verse means. You will not truly know what it is this verse is talking about. That in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the entire creation, from the heavens to whatever is in the earth, is obedient to Him. So we should also be obedient to Him. But the difference between the heavens is that they have no choice in being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They exist, they are running in their courses, they're expanding, contracting, coming into existence and dying. The stars in the sky exist by the will of Allah, and they have no choice but to be obedient to Him. They do. The entire universe, the enormous universe that we see around us, obeys Allah completely. And when you put that telescope toward the sky and see how big the galaxies are, and see what the sun is, and see what the moon is, you will know, number one, how great is Allah who created this. Number two, how big this universe is. And number three, this universe is in fact subservient, obedient to the laws of Allah. But humbly, I present to you that if you've never done this for yourself, if you've never looked up at the sky and pondered, what is this that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created? What are these enormous heavens that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created? I myself am on a tiny, almost insignificant planet in such an enormous universe. What is the point of all of this? What am I doing here? You will start to have this pondering, this experience for yourself once you implement this in your life. Not only should you ponder the meaning of what the verse is saying, but if the verse is pointing you to a specific evidence or to a specific phenomenon, or asking you to do something, or asking you to experience something, go ahead, experience it for yourself. This will instill in you a true and a greater, much more wonderful appreciation of the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another verse, and in this is Surah Al-Fajr, a couple of verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings to our attention history. What has happened in history. And in the two verses that I've chosen from Surah Al-Fajr, they go as follows. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد. Translation: Have you not considered how your Lord dealt with the people of Ad, those who built or with whom were lofty pillars? Now, what do we mean by that? In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing us, I believe in the Arabian Peninsula, a people of the Ad used to live. And the people of Arabia used to know, as they would travel, their ruins that they used to exist. And basically they had all these ruins, these old, where the people of Ad used to live. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse is pointing us, have you not seen what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did with the people of Ad? And what happened to the people of Ad? One thing is known about the people of Ad. They were a very, for their time, they were a very advanced people. They used to build very tall structures and incredible structures. And in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing to us, have you gone out and seen what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did, or how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dealt with the people of Ad? Now, what happened to the people of Ad? They were destroyed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us in these verses, have you not seen, have you not considered, have you not pondered what happened to the people who passed before you? Just like this, have we ever visited any ruins, any historical place, and have we ever pondered, just like for the people of Ad, what happened to the great nations of the past? What happened to the quote-unquote great Roman Empire, to the great Persian Empire, to the great this empire, to the great that empire, to great conquerors of the past, to people who at quote-unquote at their time thought themselves were just amazing, they were wonderful, and this will never end, right? What happened to them? They were all destroyed, and all of them without exception have died. No one who once upon a time thought themselves high and mighty and wonderful, a great nation, has ever survived. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing out for us, go spread out into the earth, go take a look at what happened to the people in the past and what we dealt with them. So number one, have we ever gone, and this is, I invite my listeners to do this. In practically every country, if you're listening internationally, or even if you're listening into the United States, in practically every country, you will find historical ruins. What people used to live like, and how they were before, and how today their signs are just a bunch of ruins. And what do we mean by ruins? They're just abandoned. No one lives there anymore. It's just a dead place. Just like the people of Ad. Every historical people have come and they have gone. But if you never go out and experience this history for yourself, never go to a ruin and think, you know what? These people once thought themselves great and wonderful, and today they're all dead. One day, just like these people died, I will also be dead. I will also come to pass, just like these people passed. I will one day pass. I will no longer be here. So I invite my listeners, whenever you're reading the Quran and whenever the Quran points you to a topic, number one, think about it. Number two, ponder what it means for you. And number three, try to experience it for yourself. Go ahead, Go to any local ruins, any historical place, and see what happened to the people of the past. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing us to the people of Ad, do this with your children. Go to an historical place and see what it was like. No problem. Going out and having some fun and having a fun time with children is a wonderful thing. So go do it for yourself. And once you do, you will have a much truer, much greater appreciation of the verses, of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the final example, in Surah An-Nazi'at, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أأنتم أشد خلقا أم السماء بناها. Now, according to Sahih International, the translation is, what do you think? Are you more difficult creation of Allah, or do you think the heavens is a more difficult creation of Allah? But Allah constructed them both. Allah created the heavens and Allah created you. Right? Now, in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us, or is forcing us to ponder over our own selves. What are we? Have we ever opened a book or considered reading a book on physiology, on human anatomy, on what we are, on how we exist? This is another thing that you should do when you are reading the Quran. Not only should you ponder the meaning, but also attempt to engage with the subject of the topic of the Quran and try to learn more about it. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, what do you think? Do you think you are harder to create, or do you think the heavens are harder to create? What do we mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is challenging us. He's saying, you think we cannot create you again, or once, or twice, or three times, or many times if we want to? If you think that you are so hard to create again, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of our fundamental beliefs as Muslims is, we will be created once more. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forcing us, is challenging us, is saying that if you think you are so hard to create again, you think we can't create you again? You think you're really that hard to create? Look at the heavens and see what the heavens are. Do you think those heavens are harder to create, or do you think you're harder to create? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them both. And it is no difficult for Him to create you again. Just like if He is powerful enough to create such a complex, such an enormous universe, do you think it's real? You are so hard for Him to create? But if you've never thought about what a human being is, you've never really looked at the heavens and what the stars are like, what the galaxies are like, and how tremendous and unbelievably complex this universe is, you will not truly be able to appreciate the meaning of this verse. Go ahead, engage with the topic and the subjects of the Quran. And this is the way, and these are some of the benefits of doing this, of reading the Quran in this manner. Number one, you will live a life of experience and introspection. You will not go through life as a zombie just going through the motions. What do I mean by that? Whenever the Quran asks us to learn about the heavens, imagine, or when the Quran points us to the heavens and asks us to ponder over the creation of the heavens, if we just go over that verse, we don't really think about it, and we don't attempt to see what the verses are all about, we will have missed out on a tremendous experience. But all you really have to do is go outside on a dark, cloudless night and see what the heavens are like for yourself. And think about it. You will attempt to understand and you will develop a truer and greater appreciation of the world around us. And this is one of the things that the early pious predecessors, the earlier generations, because they read the Quran and they repeatedly attempted to engage with the Quran, not only did they develop a greater appreciation of the world around us, they developed a sense of curiosity of the world, what the world is truly like. And they started to understand what the world is truly like. And because of this, you will have a much varied set of life experiences. You won't just be, for example, for myself, I'm an IT professional. I'm in information technology. I work with computers. But when I read the Quran and I attempt, number one, to learn about the heavens, what the stars are like, what the galaxies are like, what it is all about. When I go outside and when I try to see this, I'm no longer boxed in and defined by just being a computer nerd. I have a much greater, broader breadth of experience of the world around me, a greater understanding and appreciation of the world around me. You can also have these experiences. And also, if you truly attempt to engage with the Quran, attempt to appreciate and attempt to understand what the Quran, and attempt to do and attempt to learn more about the topics that the Quran wants you to engage in, things that you do every day will become acts of worship. What do I mean by that? For most of us, we take vacations, right? Some people who are listening may have vacations planned already. They're going out, they are taking their family out for a picnic, they're taking their family out here or there. Not a problem. Not only is this a wonderful thing, this is an act of worship, but you can add something to that. Why? Imagine if you took that vacation to an isolated place where there isn't much light pollution, and you took a telescope with you and you looked at the creation of Allah. Why? Because Allah asked you to. So now that same vacation, which you were going to take anyway, is an even greater act of worship for you, is an even greater thing of benefit to you. And finally, you will start to develop new skills and abilities, and you will acquire knowledge of the world around you, unlike anything you know currently. You will not be a one-trick pony anymore. You will know what the heavens are. You will know what the earth is. You will know what the mountains are. You will know how vegetation comes into existence. I am just giving you these as examples. Seldom a page in the Quran goes by in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls these things signs of Allah. And He points to them. This is my sign. This is my evidence. Go take a look. And once you do, you will develop new skills and abilities. You will know about the world around you. And this is a tremendous benefit for somebody who engages with the Quran in a deep fashion. Not only do they ponder the meaning of the Quran, they attempt to engage with the Quran. They attempt to do what the Quran asks them to do. They attempt to learn about what the Quran asks them to learn about. They will gain, and honestly, in a much secular sense, they will develop new skills, new abilities. They will have more knowledge than they had before. And this was one of the keys to the rise of the Muslims in the earlier generations. That when the Quran asked them to ponder, asked them to discover, it created a sense of curiosity among them, and it caused them to become scientifically curious, which caused a great time of scientific discovery to come for the Muslims. if we attempt to re-engage with the Quran in this manner, it will bring all of these benefits to our lives as well. So in conclusion, what did we talk about today? We talked about, number one, how we should ponder the meaning of the Quran. And if the Quran is pointing us to a specific sign or to a specific piece of information or history or physiology or astronomy, not only should we attempt to learn more about that subject, we should attempt to engage with that subject for ourselves as well. This will cause us to truly understand and greatly appreciate in a much deeper sense what the Quran is all about and what the Quran expects us to do. So the multiple levels of learning and understanding the meaning of the Quran. Number one, you can just read the Quran with its words. That has tremendous benefits. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a level above it, which is not only to read the Quran, but to also understand and ponder its meaning. But there's a level above that, which is what Quran truly expects of us. Read the Quran, understand the Quran, and then act upon the Quran and truly engage and truly do what the Quran asks us to do. To engage in the topic, to see the signs that the Quran asks us to see. So that's it for today's topic. If anybody has top questions for next or suggestions for next week topic, I would appreciate any suggestions. I would welcome any suggestions. Jazakallah khair for coming, everyone. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdika wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I am going to open up for questions, comments. So everybody, now you are on mute or unmute, meaning I can hear you now. You know what, Mom, I'm gonna mute you because I think you're in the car, so it's coming. The noise is coming from the background. Is that okay, Mom?
It's okay.
Okay. अगर आपने कोई question पूछना है तो पूछ लें.
जोर से बोलो ना.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
तुमने कहा होता है कैसा ना
सही है समझ में आया बहुत आज.
No, I want you guys to be honest. Am I making
नहीं
sense?
वाकई जिस तरह से समझाया तुमने जिस तरह से एग्जांपल्स दिए हैं वेरी गुड.
So I want you, and when you listen to this lecture, I don't want you to just walk away. I want you to open the book. I want you to open the Quran and try. And basically, it's going to feel, especially for the adults, I'm telling you for the adults, I don't know why we lose this sense of curiosity. We become very repetitive creatures, as if learning about something new is somehow haram upon the adults, is somehow not permitted for the adults. It's just for the kids. Learning about astronomy is for the kids, but it's not for adults. Learning about how farming is done is for somebody new, somebody who's in school, but for adults, you know what? Our learning days are over. No, your learning days are not over.
I mean, I don't know.
Hello?
हाँ बेटा हम सुन रहे हैं.
Chachu, what did you say? You said you don't know?
No, मैं रजिया से कुछ कह रहा था.
Sorry. So anybody who's listening, the Quran is specifically meant to address you, specifically meant to make you go to action. And basically the everyday task that you do anyway, you go to a vacation, go on an Islamic vacation, meaning go to an historical place and hey, you know what? These people used to be, and now they're not. And one day I won't be anymore. Think about these things, and inshallah, you will truly understand and appreciate the meaning of the Quran and what the Quran expects from you. Engage with the Quran. Don't just read it. Engage with it. if there's any other questions. Okay, Jazakallah khair everyone. If this is it, Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Inshallah, I will see you guys same time next week. Have fun at the barbecue. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। अल्लाह हाफिज़ बेटा।
Hafiz khala.
Allah Hafiz.
अल्लाह हाफिज़।